Hey, welcome back, everybody. I know we've seen some fantastic results out of the Person Algo Optimizer, but we also had several tools, and it all started with Person's pivots and the PPS indicator, and of course, the latest installment of the Person's trilogy of tools on Thinkorswim is the Person Market Catcher, otherwise AKA known as the PMC indicator. What does it do? It's a relative strength indicator, and it gives us an identification of 4 different phases of the market. And again, 4 phases of the market. 1, when it's bright blue, it means that the market, or the stock, in this case Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, is outperforming the market. So bright blue means, and above the zero line, means that it is outperforming relative to the overall market. Then, so that's stage number 1. Stage number 2 means the market is still stronger than the market, but it's starting to weaken. So dark blue would be weakening. And then over here, when you see it turn red, that means it's completely lagging the market. We don't want to be long. So combined with a PPS sell signal, when you start to see the stock is moving sideways to maybe higher, but the relative strength is going down, and it's defined by those dark blue bars. When it turns bright red and crosses below the zero line, that means the market is absolutely underperforming and it is a short. So option traders, you can sell out of the money call spreads, you can buy puts, you can use Person's pivots to define where the market might get down to. So there's several different ways that a trader can utilize this information. What's the 4th phase? Well, the 4th phase is when the market starts to form these fuchsia colored bars, and that means it's improving. So we have outperforming, weakening, lagging, improving. 4 phases of a market condition. Now, when we took a long position in Hewlett-Packard, the market was still outperforming. We had a bounce. We had a PPS buy signal. And yes, ahead of earnings, the market was starting to see that it was outperforming, and the trend of the market was respecting the trend of the indicator, that is, was signifying that there was more to come. And since then, we've taken profits on this trade, part of our weekly thoughts and observations. Let's look at some other ideas that we were able to get. And if you follow my tweets, then you've probably noticed that we were talking about JETS, which is the ETF that trades and tracks the airline stocks. So that's one that we want to take a look at. What was I looking there? Well, JETS, the ETF itself, relatively new, but it was outperforming. It was starting to show relative strength. Here's a buy signal right here, and while the market's still weak, it was below the pivot. But what was happening is the very next day and a couple days later, what happened is that the relative strength started to improve, and it's been improving, and that's why we sent a tweet out and saying, hey, stay long JETS, it's going up, man, and it did. A nice little trade, not a retirement trade, but a nice trade nonetheless. So we picked the silliest little airline stock you ever want to fly, Spirit Airlines. And if you're a first-class traveler and you've been on United and American and Delta, even JetBlue, if you've taken Spirit Airlines, you know what I'm talking about. It's it's not like Southwest Airlines. So, but where did we come up with that pick? Let's take a look and see what this indicator had to do with it. So we were running our scans and we came up with Spirit Airlines. And out of all the airline sector, I mean, here we have fired off a PPS buy signal. If you're not familiar with that, this is a dynamic indicator that actually paints the arrows pointing down, which would be a bearish momentum or sell signal, and a bullish momentum or a buy signal. Now, in of itself, you would want to use some type of tool that would complement it in order to give confirmation that the signal is valid. So either improvement in relative strength versus the overall market, like the PMC indicator did. In fact, when it fired off, you'll notice that the market condition was in fuchsia, which means it was improving. The downtrend was starting to dry up, and it was starting to find some buyers. The relative strength was improving overall, and we fired off these blue bars, which means that it is relatively stronger and outperforming the overall market. And so with that said, That's where we came up with this idea of getting long Spirit Airlines. Now, today alone, it's crazy, but the stock was up almost 4%. It's up 3% right now, Spirit Airlines. When you compare that to other airlines in the space, like American Airlines, today it's up, 0.5%. While the relative strength is still positive for American Airlines, and then let's take a look at United Airlines. It's positive. The relative strength at that time was better and a healthier looking chart than most of the other airlines in that space. Even Delta, which has had a pretty weird two-sided move, it wasn't really firing off until 2 days ago. So Spirit Airlines gave us a jump ahead of the rest. JBLU, we'll take a look at JetBlue. JetBlue had already fired off. I mean, it had a nice little upside, but relative to Spirit Airlines, nothing's really outperformed. So it had a healthier chart in terms of its relative strength performance and its move. Last but not least, we'll take a look at Hawaiian Airlines, which, didn't, even though it's up sharply today, almost 5%, big move, it still was not on our radar screen to look to enter because the relative strength was weakened. It may have formed something we're going to talk about at the next Traders Expo. It's going to be in Chicago in July or late June, excuse me. But we're going to talk about 3 top indicators, and the 3 top indicators will be right here on your charts. Person's pivots, PPS, and the person market catcher. So if you don't want to wait till July or June to catch me at the next Traders Expo, we're going to be focusing specifically on this platform, Thinkorswim, and my indicators and how to best use them. If you don't want to wait till then, simply give us a shout out here at personsplanet.com and sign up to attend one of our next webinars. We also have an amazing cruise that's going to the Greek islands, but that's something that we reserve for a lot of traders. I believe that's already sold out, but we'll keep you posted on our next appearances and how to better use technical tools to give us an edge in the market. With that, I thank you all, and I hope you enjoyed this little video on explaining the power and the awesomeness of the PMC Persons Pivot Study, PPS, in conjunction with Persons Pivots themselves. Those are 3 indicators on your screen, and those are the 3 powerful tools that we want to teach you how to better use to get the most out of Thinkorswim platform. Thanks, everyone.